standard framework for teaching and learning support in higher education. He also holds a postgraduate qualification in higher education from Nottingham Trent University, UK. Professor Gulati played a key role in styling for the Indian uh, launch of the German menswear brand Leros in 2007. And a lot of things I can talk about. I can keep going introducing these two stars at UID. But because of the limited time, let's dive in today's topic. The first segment here, design is equal to, no, not equal to drawings. Let's start with the most common myth. People think design is mostly about visuals. Is that true, Professor Rudrajit? So you are on mute.
Am I audible? Thank you. Think of design more like being a detective or a strategic thinker rather than just somebody who draws. So yes, sketching helps communicate ideas quickly, but the real world will happen in your brains, in your minds, understanding what people need, what they want to do, solve problems, travel all over the world as people in the department do, and making thoughtful decisions about how you want to make an impact in the world. So your ability to think critically, empathize with users, and solve problems in a systematic way are much more important than drawing. Drawing is just one small skill part of it. Ankur?
So agree with you, Rudrajit. I actually was thinking of a much longer answer, but to cut it short, I never knew how to sketch. And I think nobody in my class knew how to sketch, which is the norm. I mean, we actually took admission in our institute to learn how to sketch. And I agree with Rudrajit when I say, sketching is only a small component of what you envision, what you design. It is a more holistic approach that one needs to have. Interest, commitment, observation, and dedication is something which is really more important than just sketching. Is important, but not the only thing that should make you decide whether you should do a design course or not do a design course. Come on. I mean, I'm sure even Rudrajit sir never knew how to sketch. We didn't fall from above with this. It's a skill, and a skill can be acquired. So with time and experience, you only get better. So I think not knowing sketching is not such a big thing, but being inquisitive, like I said, observation and commitment to empathy, design, curation, things that look beautiful, and why, how do things really work. I think having that sort of inquisitivity is better, more useful than just knowing how to sketch.
So true. I was going to ask next, but I think you've already answered that. So if someone comes and tells you that, I can't draw, so I can't be a designer, what will be the answer?
Usually, just to add on to what both of you have said, sketching is a skill. Okay, it's like swimming. I can say that because I just came from a swim. Nobody knows how to swim straight off. You go jump into the water and you learn. So it's just a skill. This is much more important. If this works, everything else will work.
And I think to add to what Ruchirdeep sir has just mentioned, वो कहते हैं ना कि एक बारी हाथ पैर मारने दो पानी में भी,
Exactly.
You will survive.
हाँ,
पर अगर आप हाथ पैर ही
yeah,
नहीं मारोगे, you probably will drown.
correct.
Yeah.
But ये हाथ पैर मारने वाली बात तब आती है when somebody is teaching you that skill and you know the right way to navigate. Whether it's swimming or whether it's anything else, horse riding or whichever, it's a skill. So never be afraid of not knowing how to draw. I mean, if I talk about fashion design, you still, as an entry person, will not know how to cut a pattern. The entire subject is new. All subjects will be new to you. So don't take this as an isolation and tell yourself, मेरे को sketching नहीं आती तो यार मुझसे नहीं होगा. It doesn't work like that.
Yes. So I mean, it's very clear now that just drawing is not, the start point of being a designer, that there's much more beyond just drawing. So moving to the second segment, wherein we will talk about think systems and strategy. So let's talk about system thinking. How does design operate in strategic level? Professor Ankur.
That's a very interesting question, Manami, ma'am. Design isn't just how something really looks, it's how something or object, how it really works. It's an amalgamation of both. Um, not everything that looks good will end up being a very productive item. Just like when they say, all that glitters is not gold. And I think design is something which has to have a very delicate balance between aesthetic and functionality. It needs to have both in tandem, so that it can be really successful, or it can operate in a better way. It's like, my father was an engineer, and he would tell me, वो bridge देखो, यहाँ से point A से point B लोगों को ले जाता है. And I used to tell my dad, पर वो bridge इतना बदसूरत है, कोई recall value नहीं है. So he would tell me, function तो है ना. I said, हाँ, पर aesthetic भी होना चाहिए. तो अगर दोनों हो जाएं, nothing like it becomes a landmark. So we have always had this healthy debate as an engineer, function हो जाए, बहुत है. कैसे लग रहा है, कैसे नहीं लग रहा है, हम नहीं देख रहे. It's not our part. I think that's when designers come in, where we look at operations, function, and aesthetics. When these three amalgamate together, it becomes a very
Beautiful design.
interesting system of thinking of design.
Yes. What are your thoughts, Professor Bose?
Again, me and Ankur and Amrita, all of us, we keep talking about all of this. So strategic thinking is in many ways like being the architect or being the designer of the entire experience, right? So for example, I like talking in examples because that clarifies things for people. So for example, if it's Spotify, it will not just design the app, it will also, you are also not just looking at the buttons or the interface. You are looking how the artist gets paid, you are looking at how labels distribute music, you are looking at how users discover new songs or share them, and how what comes in what order,
The
right?
entire
So
ecosystem.
all of this is design. It's not just particularly making the interface that you see. So strategy is finding out how everything in the environment of your design works and how you work within. And this also adds to the earlier question that Manini put, is drawing necessary? At the strategy part, drawing is not necessary at all. So
That's
if
the
you're trying
place
to figure
where
out
design.
how to solve a problem of music, okay, or it's how if somebody in your home has pain in their knees, that is not going to be solved by drawing. First, you have to think about the problem, right? So strategic design is looking at design in its environment and seeing where the problem lies, is what we feel. Also because we have a firm, so we talk like this about when we approach clients. So that.
That's the benefit of us having professors of practice at UID. You all bring the real world challenges, right? Problem solving methods to our student. So this is the place wherein, design and business start to intersect, is what I believe, where the strategic thinking or systems come in place, right? Yes, Professor Ankur wanted to say something.
Yes. Again, I would agree. See, it's all about, like I mentioned before, a good combination of many things put together. And design system only works if it has a very good validation from clients. The ultimate validation comes from who's it for and whether that community really appreciates, and you've solved the purpose, you've solved a problem for that community. So a design system validation only comes from a feedback, and when you see that the community has benefited from it, and you were able to solve a certain problem through design.
True. That is true. Giving an example, like how we started the Craft Innovation Center, right? It was more to empower the artisans across India or across the globe. But while we were, uh, I mean, while this project was going on, we came up with a lot of challenges, and this helped us design the entire community development or an ecosystem wherein now we are calling them each month, they are staying with us, we are taking care of educating them or aligning them with latest technology which can help their uh, craft to survive, right? So that's
Yeah,
also
and just to add, Manini, I think today, with in the age of AI, we've also consciously are making an effort to integrate AI into a lot of our systems. I would say almost all of our systems,
true.
be it in fashion design, interior, architecture, furniture, product, animation. I mean, it's everywhere. It's a need of the hour. It's something like how Photoshop was previously and till date is a mandate. Microsoft Word is a mandate. Excel is a mandate. AI aa gaya hai. It's great that we can integrate that into our systems for better results, for better stimulation, and I think UID has been able to achieve by integrating AI into plugin as a plugin into many areas where students get a better experience, the faculty gets a better experience, and the results are any day much efficient, better, less time consuming, and effective.
Accelerating, I mean, helping them use AI as an accelerator rather. Yes. All right. So yes, of course, systems and strategy plays a very pivotal role in design journey. Moving to the next segment, design tell stories. Aren't we all storytellers? So let's shift to storytelling. How do designer tell stories and why does it matter? Professor Ankur.
Right. So about storytelling, I recall when there was no internet and on radio, there used to be these Hindi kahaniya and horror stories. And I used to love just imagining, listening, and then having this picture in my head. And it would be so real because the kind of tone they would use, the kind of sound effects they would have. So now, if you put that into a design perspective, a story is also a journey. It is not the end. How you start, how you've reached phase one, phase two, you probably had problems in phase three, you go back to phase two, and so on and so forth. It's a narrative, it's a narration, it's a story which slowly unfolds, and then you probably start getting a picture. But that picture might be different for, let's say, Rudrajit, might be different for Manini. However, it's the story, it's the journey that matters, and how well you could curate that story is important, and how you're able to reach your destination is is the happiness index. Not really the destination, but the journey towards the destination. So storytelling is all about how things unfold. What are the different ways you could tell your story, your phase one, phase two, phase three, in many different ways, through color, through images, through pictures, through visuals. And remember, they don't need to have sketches, as Rudrajit just mentioned. It could be a narrative, it could be vocal, and you build a picture in your mind. So that building a picture in your mind is very important. And for that, you need these support plugins, short stories, long stories, which help you build something really, really strong. And therefore, I think storytelling for a designer and how designers tell a story is amazing through garments, through architecture, through animation. It, there's just so many messages that come through a product and many products. So I think storytelling is important, and I think that's probably the funnest part of design is storytelling, I feel.
And that's kind of narrative being used to make, complex situations or things look simpler. That's the beauty of storyteller.
Another thing, no, I mean, initially, I remember our maths textbooks and our other subject textbooks used to be so boring. The newspaper used to be boring. Now you have color, you have characters, animation within textbooks. I go through my son's textbooks and I'm like, wow, yaar, ye to encyclopedia jaisa hai. Because it just brings in so much character and it's all storytelling at the end of the day. Uske
Yeah.
piche CD hogi, which is, audio visual. So these are all ways of communicating. And I think it communicates better and you register more, retention is more. Registration for a student becomes much, much better when you get to see these stories that are now enabled.
Professor Bose, what are your thoughts on
I was just
storytelling
listening.
or
I
how
was
design
just
tells
listening to
stories?
both of you, and it's sometimes interesting to keep quiet and just listen to words being or ideas being exchanged by people who you see. Like today is the story between the three of us. Okay, and stories are interesting because again, you as a designer will often work with clients, and clients are not interested in being reduced to numbers and money or figures. So they will want to, you have to as a designer figure out a way to connect to somebody, and stories are a way that allow you to connect to people, to the narrative of how people will live or work, or what they will make, or how what you will make will matter to them. So each of these is a story. And like if you have grandparents, my grandparents told me stories. The stories have a moral, right? So your story, when you make your life story, what will the moral be? What will you teach somebody? What will you learn? All of these things are stories. So often, like in class, we have this thing. A lot of students come late for various reasons. So we have a design assignment which is called stories in GDP, in which they have to come up with a fantastic story of why they were late. And they cannot say that we were
Interesting.
late because I did not wake up or the alarm did not go off. The first 10 things that have are discounted.
Not
Now
allowed.
you have to come up with a fantastic story, and if the story is really good, they get attendance. Like, but it has to be an insanely cool story. So at various points, and they can use AI, they can go back, design the story, come back, and tell the story by end of the class. So if they have, so we at UID a lot of times, um, the good thing is that they will ask, they have faculty from different places. Like I have a firm and we do architecture, design, all kinds of design. And Ankur is from fashion and he's from a completely different place. And Shevangi is from product design and there are gamers. And we'll all sit together and we'll talk, right? And then we will compare our stories. And then we will take those stories into the classroom. And then sometimes really cool things will happen. And UID lets us do most of these things.
Yes, so it's not just about visuals or branding, right? It's much, much deeper, as I understand, and I'm sure the audience today also got an answer to how important, it is through their design to tell stories, right? And give that message that they want to give out, right?
And a quick addition,
Yes.
all of us have heard every excuse in the world for being late, right? So
Yes.
coming up with a new story is a good assignment. It's a really, really tight assignment. Okay. So that's it. Stories are important. They will
The
get
I'll
more
you
have
through
to
dark
creative,
days.
the more creative, the better, huh? The more creative
Absolutely.
the excuse, the better.
I'll
Yeah.
have to think again. My car cannot keep on, the
Yeah.
tire
You
can't
can't have a
Yeah.
flat tire every time. You
every
have to
day.
come up with something very, very
Creative.
innovative, Manini.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
traffic.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you can't say traffic tha. No, come up with something convincing.
Yes, more
Yeah.
convincing. Yeah, yeah. All right. Moving forward to the next segment, wherein we are going to talk about real problems, real impact. So now let's bring it home, design role in real world impact. Can you give examples where design has driven real change? Professor Bose.
Uh, okay. Again, I'll just stick with real world examples because often when I walk into class, students will say, "Oh, ठीक है, I will listen to you, but आप क्या करते हो?" It's a valid question. So a couple of years back, we were appointed by the Ministry of Defense to do an exhibition which is called Aero India. I think it's there in my profile somewhere. Anyways, so we were doing the design for an exhibition. It's a design exhibition, and companies that make defense equipment from all over the world come to this air base in Bangalore, which is called Yalanka base, and it's a airport, and all the fighter aircraft, all the missiles, everything comes, right? So we were designing that exhibition, and one of the things that we noticed on a government base is that and you have to understand that it's a 12-kilometer long base, and it has 15,000 people working inside the base. They are Air Force people, right? And for such a cool base, what it did not have, one of the things it did not have was very good bathrooms. And the prime minister was coming, and many dignitaries were coming, right? And we thought that instead of making usual porta cabin designs, if we could pitch an idea to the government that let's make good bathrooms, it could help the people at the base much after the exhibition was over, right? So we slid that into the Excel sheet of the costing. So a lot of times, since we began at design is not drawing, Amrita, who's the director at GDGU, is my partner and childhood friend. We both, when you pitch to clients, you make a Excel sheet with all the costs. So in thousands of columns, we hid 4 bathrooms, and we slotted that into the overall budget. So government being the government, they checked everything and they saw bathroom, and the word that was missing was porta, and it was fixed. Instead of porta, we used fixed in an Excel sheet on page number 22, column 18. Okay. They passed it, and till date, it's 7 years down the line. They have 5-star rated bathrooms in that base. That's the base with the best bathrooms in the Indian Air Force currently. Okay. And then we had all the grass, which was laid for the prime minister to walk, which is a synthetic turf. We took all of that, which was taken from the Bangalore stadium, and we put it in the central school right next. And Amrita will bear this out. And they had a free cricket pitch from the next day of the exhibition. So sometimes, even when you are doing design, there is a chance to have real world impact on people's lives, right? Yes, we got paid, and yes, it was a design, but till date, the happiest thing that for us is that a lot of people who would walk in would not remember the show, but would continue using the bathrooms. Or kids, even now in that school, are using a green turf that is extremely expensive to lay.
That's a great example of, a real example of how design can solve problems. Over to you, Professor Gulati.
So I'm glad, I would share one of the problems that I think we were able to solve was at the immigration, the IGI airport in New Delhi, the international airport. Previously, the immigration officers would wear these very boring blue jacket, black tie, white shirt, and the women folk would be wearing khaki, which is that police sort of a uniform. So when you have foreigners, Indians, and foreigners coming back to India, it was always quite intimidating going through immigration, and these people would be dressed so rigid. What we did was we turned things around. We took this project to do uniforms for the immigration officers, men and women alike. We brought in certain elements of India. So the national bird, which is the peacock, we used certain colors and prints onto the uniform. So the shirts became turquoise blue green. The ties had the print of the peacock, and the jacket was again of a dark green color. which signified the Indian heritage. The women folk were also given similar saris and suits with prints from motifs from all over India. Now, whether this was a problem solving situation or not, but it actually helped um, first time visitors, frequent visitors to India, where the first touch point would be the immigration officers, develop an interesting relationship. So they would no longer be intimidated by these rigid jackets, police type khaki uniforms. Instead, they would see these beautiful peacock colors and, probably a bit more smiling faces. It would relax them, the connect with India. The first thing that you see when you land in India is this a representation of India? So I think dealing with communities, people's behavior, and reflection of heritage played a very important role. So we brought that into a sarkari situation, and results are brilliant. So even today, we see that the uniforms that we designed some time back have taken an avatar change, but still keeping the similar ethos of Indian heritage. And I don't think they've gone back to their khaki uniforms, dressed up like a police officer at the immigration desk. So certain things that change when you take the initiative and you design something for a cause, you create something interesting and new, and then you wait and watch how communities react. And often the communities are happy, and this change is quite welcome.
It is ever changing, right? Based on the people you are designing for, communities you are designing for, constant feedbacks and constant changes, right? And some of the designs are even invisible, right? They're not visible, but they bring a lot of impact in real world, in people's life. So that's what uh, a good design or a designer's role in society is at large, right? All right, great insights. Are we up for some questions from audience?
Oh,
Yes.
yes,
All
absolutely.
right. Team, can we go ahead and open the forum for Q&A? All right, people who are here, you can now go ahead and ask your questions to the fantastic panel today. So you can put your questions in the chat, and we'll pick each question and uh, ask to our panelists. So please go ahead. I can see. The first question is from Subhana. Subhana is asking how creativity can be aligned well with designer perspective.
Ankur, you want to go ahead, or can I take this?
Rudrajit, take it first. I'll add on.
Uh, it's an interest. I don't think it requires alignment. I think they are aligned by its very nature, right? So if you have design and creativity, for example, one follows the other. It's a form and space thing. So as soon as you have the will or the need to create something or solve a problem, the rest of it will follow by itself.
I,
Is that,
I,
I hope that answers.
yeah, I hope that answers. Also, I'd like to add in. Sorry, I barged in suddenly. Excited to answer this question.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
please.
it's so true. I think what Rudraji just mentioned, design and creativity cannot be looked at two isolated entities. It needs to be together again, because you need to be creative to be able to make an effective design. And we spoke about design. Design has to be functional and has to have a purpose and so on. So, agar सोने पे सुहागा है, then why not? I mean, design, creative, it's creative, beautiful design. Often, if we use that in a sentence, it really means that we have completed the process of appreciation. You know, it's creative, the design is good, it's solving a purpose, it was done innovatively, it goes in tandem. I don't see these as isolation, and having these in tandem is always important. And when we as designers create, we are creating a design, and creation itself is innovative. So I think they go hand in hand. इसमें कोई दो अलग चीजें नहीं है.
All right. We hope the question was answered. There's another question from Subhana. Is it common for designers to go through creative blocks? Have to deal with it?
Of course, pretty much any designer or anybody who's practiced or ever tried to make something. Okay, if they say that they have not faced a block, they are lying. It is a constant fact of any creative person's life
So true.
that there will be blocks. Okay, and
I am
then
not a designer, but I design processes and I do have blocks. I
yeah,
talk to my
and
team.
she'll have
Yeah.
a process block. Huh. We often talk to Manini about process blocks, and sometimes those blocks are not created by you, they are created by people in your system. Like we spoke, no, the design is not just you. Okay, there will be people putting blocks, there will be Bhagwanji putting blocks, there will be some days the brain will not work. Okay, so blocks are a fact of life. Okay, they will happen. But also, what design teaches you is what to do when you are blocked. Right? When you study design, it's yes, everybody faces blocks, but when you face a block, what do you do is also a skill that can be learned. Right? आप जब ब्लॉक होता है उस समय क्या करोगे? ठीक है, देयर आर प्रोसेसेस. अगर हाथ नहीं चल रहा, अगर दिमाग नहीं चल रहा, तो हाउ विल द ब्रेन बी रीस्टार्टेड? आप इंजन को भी ऐसे ही चलाते हो ना. Sometimes the engine of your car does not work, so either there is a problem in the battery, or there is a problem in the fuel, or there is a problem in the driver. Okay, one of those three things in the system will have to be checked and handled. So yes, you will have blocks, but you will also get out of blocks.
Any specific tools that or a process that you would like to guide them to identify
For
the
example,
block?
design thinking or design processes, these are all ways to get around the block. है ना? For example, anything, think of anything in your lives, right? For example, ये बारिश होता है तो हमारे सारे शहर डूब जाते हैं. Is a problem, right? And it is not that people are not thinking about the problem, but it is a block that they have not been able to solve it. Right? Engineers ने बनाया road, designers ने बनाया, people have approved it, but it's still, when it rains in every city from Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, we have waterlogging, right? So there is a block there, and then there are processes by which these blocks. ऐसा तो नहीं है that nobody has solved the problem. Can we do it? How do we do it? What are the steps to do it? That's all design.
All right. Thank you so much. We have another question from Vinayak Yshi. Uh, AI is helping in learning design, but is that always a benefactor or creating a handicap to designer in thinking new ideas? Is it a block or an accelerator?
I think I'll go first with this, and I have a double take on this. It can be both. It could be a block, and it could also, bring efficiency on a very high note. Dealing with young community, I think a lot of, I don't speak for all, but most of the young people want instant gratification. Sketching नहीं आती, चलो AI से कर लेते हैं. Apps हैं, mobile pay, let's do it like this. Instant results, but I think you need to spend time, nurture something, and see it grow. So, on one hand, your skills in principle need to be learned and practiced, and then moving on to the next level, which is AI. Please always understand that AI is a tool, is a plugin. It is not a solution. You know, it'll probably never be a solution. It will help you. You know, when we hear words like prompt, this, image to word to image, these are all plugins. You give instructions for it to work. If you don't give the right instructions, how will AI work? Tell me. And to know the right instructions, you need to know the right principles. आप एकदम से किताब खोल के थोड़ी ना या किसी कंप्यूटर इंस्टीट्यूट में जाके एआई सीख लेते हो. That is so incomplete. I mean, I do appreciate AI is today a part of almost all industries, education, business, finance, name it, animation, it is there. But for you to apply and get the right results, you need to have the right prompts, the right instructions. To know the right instructions, you need some nurturing. You need to nurture yourself and nurture the process to be able to go there. So, yes, it can be a boon and it can be a huge flop. You're trying to do something and it's not giving you the results. फिर मन को लगता है कि अरे यार ये तो बकवास है. So I think it really one has to look at this holistically and not just अच्छा है या नहीं अच्छा है. So
Like I'll
over
give,
to you.
yeah. I'll tell my story. When I was in school, we used to hear this key computers will take away all the jobs, right? So if we had to believe it and बैठ जाते अगर हम कि अब तो हमें कुछ नहीं करना है, computers are going to take away job. But instead, at our school, we were being taught कि start learning those skills. So it is same with AI. You will have to start learning those skills. बहुत ही सिंपल है. एआई आपका जॉब नहीं ले जाएगी, बट जिनको वो स्किल्स आएगी जो आपको नहीं आ रही है, वो आपके जॉब्स जरूर ले पाएंगे. सो द मोरल इज स्टार्ट लर्निंग एंड up until it is required. So the institute you go for study, like at UID, we teach ethical use of AI at various stages, jitna required hai, right? So that's my take on AI. Professor Bose?
We for the departmental point of view, so I don't know how many of you know, but we have a program called the Global Design Program, and the students travel every alternate semester to a university in Australia and in Italy and now in the United States, right? Now, so for example, each of these universities have a different take on AI. So one of the universities, when we were talking to their faculty members, another cool thing is a lot of our faculty talks to faculty at global universities pretty regularly. So we know what's going on in the world. So one is that there is nothing artificial about intelligence. It is just intelligence, right? And the biggest boon of AI is that you, at the touch of a button, boon आप समझते हैं, गिफ्ट है ना. सो वरदान जो बोलते हैं, तो वरदान उसका सबसे ज्यादा ये है कि एट द टच ऑफ अ बटन यू हैव ऑल द एक्यूमुलेटेड विजडम एंड नॉलेज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड इन योर फिंगर टिप्स. ये इसका वरदान है. हमारे विद इन आवर फेथ ना, वरदान के साथ हमेशा श्राप भी आता है. भगवान जब वरदान देते हैं ना, उसके साथ साथ श्राप आता है. एंड द श्राप इज द कर्स. द कर्स इज दैट जो आपके फिंगर टिप्स पे है वो बाकी आज सबके फिंगर टिप्स पे भी है. सो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस आपको जो देगा वो बाकी सबको भी वही देगा.
So it is up
तो
to you.
आप अगर क्लाइंट के पास जाएंगे आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का सामान लेके, तो वो आपको बोलेंगे कि हम आपको पैसा क्यों दे, ये तो एआई बना देगा मेरे लिए. So as a practitioner, if you have a firm, if you work with clients, okay, the first question you will continuously get is, can I get this out of AI? And once they're sure that you have skills which can use AI but are not AI generated, they will hire you immediately. So for the client, for the work, for your graduate profile, it's important for you to understand that the tool is powerful, but it is like, oh, garden ka fawda. it will dig earth the same way for everyone. So to get a diamond or something worthwhile, you have to know where to dig, how much to dig. Okay, that AI is not going to tell you because AI का काम ही नहीं है वो. AI has not been designed by you to solve your homework, right? This is what I tell my son. It's been designed for doing other things. So never think that AI, I agree with Manini, and I don't think it's going to take away all our jobs. I
That's a
think
common
it
question
depends
that we
on
get
how
from
you
all
use it.
parents.
Yes. And I think the newer generations, you guys who are here, you guys are familiar with AI in a very comfortable way, which is good. Once you come into college, you will use it for design in a focused way. That's fine. But if your design is the same as 20 other designs of your classmates, nobody is getting marks.
Absolutely true.
Yes.
So there.
All right. So I think, do we have more questions, Steve? All right. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And special thanks to Professor Rudrajit and Professor Ankur for those incredible insights. And I mean, if there's one thing to take away, it's this: design isn't just decoration, it's direction. It's about empathy, systems, and creating lasting change. So until next time, stay curious and keep designing beyond the sketch pen. All right. And we're just sharing our screen to give you the contact information of UID. For any further information on what's happening, our next webinar, or anything related to the admission process, how to get into UID, get in touch with us. Can we share the screen, please? There's one more question. If a student is coming to UID NCR to learn design, but not just for getting a job, will that student feel he or she is distracted after a few years, or they will get what they wish to be? Professor Gulati, direct to you. This is a specific question for UID
Can
NCR.
you,
If a
can you
student is
just
coming,
quickly repeat that, please?
sure. If a student is coming to UID NCR to learn design, but not just for getting a job, will that student feel he or she is distracted after a few years, or they will get what they wish to be?
It's a very complicated question.
Yeah, the question is very
I
complicated.
mean, yeah, I'm not really sure what is the question, but I think if I can just guess, whether it's UID NCR or any other design college, I would speak for UID NCR. Um, so you come here with an aspiration. You come here, you walk in with an aspiration, with a dream. We help you achieve that dream. Now, whether you want to convert that dream into a job or a service to the community or a service to yourself is totally up to you. We've had students who have not given their names for placements willingly. We've had students who want to work with NGOs. We've had students who want to work for themselves and maybe look at a seed company that could fund them. So at the end of the day, it's not just really job oriented. For most, it is, but for few, which is not job oriented, it's also satisfaction, wanting to learn, acquire new skills. And I think it's perfectly normal. And what we give you here is a holistic learning. We also have AI, as we discussed, which is a plugin. So I think we're future ready and enables you to really get your head start. Whether you want to work or not work, that is up to you. But we always have a department which is dedicated for placements, which helps students get their desired jobs. And I think we've been quite successful at it.
Also, there is a dedicated cell to guide you for your further academic journey in case if you want to continue that. There's a dedicated cell, and we are collaborated with 30 plus top institutes globally. We also have innovation and incubation foundation within the campus. So right from your exploration, prototyping, we have our own Shark Tank where, even the prototypes are funded, and of course your final project. and everything in between, getting your ideas protected through IPR to the final funding. So it is not just to get you job ready, right? Any
Yeah.
aspiration that you have or you develop further, you will have a support provided by UID. We also follow a mentor-mentee system. So each student on joining UID is assigned with a mentor who will then guide you for, I mean, throughout your journey in terms of selecting the right electives, the right exit, whether you want to take a placement or you are ready for a startup or you want to continue your academic journey, and a lot of other guidance in your 4 years journey. For
And we travel
bachelor's,
a lot. We
we travel
we
a
do
lot.
traveling a lot. We,
Yes.
for craft immersion, international trips, national trips. So there's so much more than just, trying to obtain a job. I think that is something very short-sighted. So as Manini just put it, there's lots more. You could do your further studies. There's traveling. We push our students to travel. We push our students to get the feel of how craftsmen work and have an immersive trips. So yeah, it's a holistic experience altogether.
Right. We have one more question because we are live on YouTube also. So on YouTube Live, we have one question. Can you please tell us, this is from Astha Singh. Hi, Astha. Can you please tell us more about strategic design management, its future scope, and what do we exactly study in that discipline?
Well, strategic design management, for example, we have it inbuilt into the second and third years for a lot of courses, including GDP, where I teach. And it essentially looks at both design. Strategic design is long-term design, right? It's long-term design which affects larger scopes of being than only smaller areas or individual design. So how does design management operate at the policy level, at the governmental level, at the cultural level? Okay. So in certain cases, strategic design, if you do strategic design, but to a culture that design does not make sense, that will be rejected, right? At a policy level, governments might not allow a lot of things that work for various reasons. So strategic design looks at policy, it looks at frameworks, it looks at economics, it looks at uh, tactical design, it looks at materials, it looks at all of these things together. And it is a larger scale of design processes. So yes, it is taught, and it is also something that a lot of students do masters in.
Actually, the question is for the 2 years master's program that we are offering at UID. So the 2 years
Correct.
master's design management program has been created through a unique collaboration between United World Institute of Design and United World Institute of Management, that is UIM. The objective of design management is to identify pragmatic solutions to problem and implement those concepts in a manner that advantages individuals, organizations, and society at large. So you will develop a holistic perspective and use design thinking to address contemporary and prospective challenges with a strong commercial focus. Besides design, you will also explore supply chain management, product market delivery, and lead sustainability initiative. It is an interdisciplinary program that will help you hone your design, research, communication, analytical skills in dynamic multidisciplinary environment. In order to become a catalyst for and advocate for transformative organizational and societal change, this program will teach you how to work in team, develop your leadership skills, and explore collaborative techniques. So that's the 2 years design management program that we offer at UID. And of course, those skills that Professor Bose just spoke about. So you start learning those skills right at bachelor's level. They are integrated in most of your programs. Then to do masters, we also have a program which is design management. All right. So we're done with all the questions. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Stay curious, as I said, and keep designing beyond Sketchpad. Wish to see you soon in next episode of Decode Your Design Dreams, and we will keep on decoding your dreams together through these webinars. All right. Thank you and a great day
Thank
ahead.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.